The history of money is full of people who succeeded in copying the existing money. There are countless examples for this. Kings melting down gold coins and encasing copper coins with a thin layer of gold, alchemists that tried changing metal elements, the Portuguese cheaply producing beads which were used in some African countries as money, or today's central banks which copy and create fiat currency out of thin air. Humans today act like they would have in the past. Bitcoin might be a new form of money, so of course there are people who try to copy it. But Bitcoin can't be copied. You can create an endless amount of alternatives, but none of them has Bitcoin's properties. They also try to convince us of a world that has hundreds if not thousands of currencies, but make no mistake, in each case it is their own attempt to create money. An analogy that you will often hear when someone talks about the creation of Bitcoin is the Immaculate Conception. The Immaculate Conception is a doctrine of the Roman Catholic Church that states that the Virgin Mary was free of original sin from the moment of her conception. Let me explain what this has to do with Bitcoin. Satoshi, the pseudonymous creator of Bitcoin, mined it because there has to be a miner for Bitcoin to work. He told people in advance when he will start mining, and everyone could have started at the same time as he did. Halfini jumped on board to do so. There was no pre-mine that was exclusive to Satoshi. He mined less and less over the first year because the network already gained some hash rate from other miners to sustain itself. Bitcoin has become money over time, only as the network developed emergent properties that did not exist at inception and which are next to impossible to replicate now that Bitcoin exists. What does this exactly mean? What was the market cap at Bitcoin's inception? Well, $0. Yes, for real, there was no market cap. In fact, every cryptocurrency that has a value today only has a value because Bitcoin became valuable. Don't underestimate how crucial this is. Bitcoin benefited from a very rare set of circumstances. Because it launched in a world where digital cash had no established value, they circulated freely. That can't be recaptured today, since everyone expects coins to have value. The Immaculate Conception. Satoshi also never cashed out and left the project in the hands of others very early on. Bitcoin can't be copied. The genie can't be put back into the bottle. The world has changed. We now know digital coins have value to us. A launch like Bitcoin can never be reproduced. This is also what makes Bitcoin different from every other cryptocurrency. It makes Bitcoin the only truly decentralized project, whereas everything else is closer to a tech company. There might be a place for some of them, but they are not Bitcoin competitors and certainly not suitable for the money use case. Listen to this next short segment from a Balaji interview in which he describes exactly how I feel about Bitcoin versus crypto.
If you were starting from scratch, but could only bet in one place, BTC versus ETH versus other, you only get to pick one. Which would you choose and why?
BTC.
BTC, why?
And the reason is everything else is a technology company, whereas Bitcoin has become almost like an element like gold. That's to say, the fact that Bitcoin not only is the first, but it has the disappeared founder, because it has a disappeared founder, it fits a certain kind of mentality where because there's no leader, you don't feel like you're submitting to somebody. You don't feel like you're submitting to somebody by buying gold. So first is on the economics, yes, if I can only buy one thing, you just buy Bitcoin because nothing competes with it. On the ideological, kind of the way I think about it is, if you go item by item, probably I agree with Maximus on many things. I understand where they're coming from. Exit the Fed, check. Stop the bailouts, check. Return to sound money, check. Build a voluntary society, check. End the welfare warfare state, check. Bitcoin as a global reserve currency, check. Bitcoin as an epochal technological breakthrough, check. But Bitcoin as the only digital asset ever and everything else is evil, that's where they lose me.
Every other fiat currency, commodity money, or cryptocurrency is competing for the exact same use case as Bitcoin, whether it is understood or not, and monetary systems tend to a single medium because their utility is liquidity rather than consumption or production. This sounds contradictory at first. I just said that no crypto competes with Bitcoin. Now this quote says that they all compete with Bitcoin. The difference is the understanding of the competition. Bitcoin is the only decentralized censorship-resistant cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin derives its value because it's decentralized and because it's censorship-resistant. It is these properties which secure and reinforce the credibility of Bitcoin's fixed 21 billion supply. While many cryptos compete for being money, they can't compete with what makes Bitcoin unique. They can't copy or improve Bitcoin. They can only be something else other than Bitcoin. Again, Bitcoin is valuable not because of a particular feature, but instead because it achieved finite digital scarcity through which it derives its store of value property. The credibility of Bitcoin's scarcity and monetary policy only exists because it is decentralized and censorship resistant. I think Parker Lewis also makes an interesting case for why Bitcoin maximalism might win. He gives two primary arguments for this. First, monetary systems 10 to 1. And second, the minority rule formulated by Nassim Taleb, which basically states that the most intolerant wins. To give you an example from his book Skin in the Game, which I also covered on the channel, someone with a peanut allergy will not eat products that touch peanuts, but a person without such allergy can eat items without peanut traces in them, which explains why it is so hard to find peanuts on airplanes and why schools are peanut free. Now, translating this to Bitcoin maximalism, if a very small minority converges on the belief that Bitcoin has superior monetary properties and will not accept your form of digital or traditional currency as money, while less convicted market participants accept both Bitcoin and other currencies, the intolerant minority wins. I would say it's rare to see someone who has just Ethereum, or just Nano, or just Solana, or just whatever else there is. They usually all have a bunch of cryptos, with Bitcoin being one of them. However, the group of people who just own Bitcoin certainly exists. According to Nick Batia's book Layered Money, you could even say that Bitcoin is in some ways a reserve currency to other cryptos. A small minority of market participants has determined that only Bitcoin is viable, rejecting the monetary properties of all other digital currencies, while the majority is willing to accept Bitcoin along with the fiat. So the minority is slowly forcing its preference on the majority.
Again, though, the reason I think maximalists are going to have amazing traction or huge traction over the coming years, I think Bitcoin maximalism is, in a sense, the most important political movement in the world that people don't understand about today. Because essentially their argument is it's all a scam. That is to say, the Fed is a scam, but actually all the printed money means many of the corporations are a scam. The censorship is a scam. Like lots of things that the state is saying are false. It's everybody who's rich, they're all cantillionaires. There's some truth to that. Like, that's bidding up assets, that is causing something where it's like dunking on Mars, So yeah, like basically dunking in a lower gravity environment. You might still need to be athletic, but less so. That's sort of what it's like doing tech or VC in this highly inflationary environment, at least for now. It's possible that, all gains are just wiped out because things go totally vertical. That's what happened in Weimar.
To summarize, the circumstances that led to Bitcoin's creation and decentralization over time can't be replicated, since we now have information about digital currencies and their market adoption that we didn't have before Bitcoin. This is also known as path dependency. Bitcoin can't be copied. And that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it and hopefully also took something out of it or learned something from it, I would appreciate if you leave a like and subscribe to the channel for further content, and then I see you next time.